The needle pierced Theo's arm like a betrayal he couldn't name yet, the cold serum flooding his veins under the fluorescent buzz of the garage light. "This'll make a man out of you, son," his father growled, voice thick with the whiskey he'd nursed all evening. Eyes averted like Theo was already something disposable. Blood trickled down his bicep, warm and accusing, as the room spun into a haze of paternal love twisted into something monstrous. In the heart of Amarillo, Texas, where the panhandle winds whipped dust devils across endless plains and pickup trucks ruled the cracked asphalt veins of suburbia, Theo Harlan had always been the good boy, the one who mowed lawns for the neighbors without complaint, who lettered in football before his body rebelled against the playbook. But that summer after high school graduation, when he'd stolen a kiss from his best friend Jake behind the bleachers at West Texas A&M, the world cracked open like a drought-stricken fault line. Jake had bolted, face flushed with the same terror Theo felt gnawing at his gut. And by dawn, whispers slithered through the trailer park like coyotes on the prowl. Pastor Harlan, Theo's father, a towering figure in starched collars and unyielding sermons at First Baptist, didn't need to hear the rumors. He smelled the sin on his son like brimstone in the air. "God's got a plan for you, boy," he'd said that night, slamming his Bible on the Formica kitchen table hard enough to rattle the salt shakers shaped like cowboy boots. Theo's mother, Evelyn, hovered in the doorway, her floral apron clutched like a shield, eyes darting between her husband and the boy she'd birthed with dreams of prom kings and grandbabies. She didn't speak. She never did when the storm clouds gathered. The injections started a week later. Harlan had found the stuff online. Some black market cocktail peddled on fringe forums by quacks promising to rewire the wiring in boys like Theo. Testosterone boosters laced with experimental peptides, smuggled in unmarked vials from a lab in Reno that catered to desperate dads in red states. "It's science, son. God's science," Harlan insisted, rolling up Theo's sleeve in the garage workbench glow, the air thick with motor oil and unspoken shame. Theo, 18 and adrift, didn't fight it. Not the first time. Not when the sting faded into a dull fire that made his muscles twitch like they were waking from a long sleep. By fall, Theo was unrecognizable. His scrawny frame ballooned into something sculpted from the pages of a gym magazine. Pecs that strained his hand-me-down tees, quads that turned his jeans into sausage casings, arms roped with veins that popped when he gripped a steering wheel. The mirror in his cramped bedroom lied to him every morning. This hulking stranger staring back, all broad shoulders and square jaw, but with eyes that still softened at the sight of the lifeguard at the public pool, the way his swim trunks clung just so. The serum worked its alchemy on the outside, but inside, Theo's heart beat the same forbidden rhythm. College was a brief escape. Lubbock wasn't Austin, but Texas Tech's sprawling campus offered shadows where a guy could breathe. Theo majored in agribusiness because his dad approved, spent nights cramming in the library stacks, but days lifting in the student rec center, chasing the burn to drown out the ache. That's where he met Riley. Riley O'Malley, a transfer from Boston with freckles like scattered constellations and a laugh that cut through the clank of free weights like sunlight on the Llano Estacado. Riley was studying environmental science, all wide-eyed idealism about wind farms and aquifer preservation in a state hooked on oil rigs. He spotted Theo on the bench press one Tuesday, grunting through reps with a focus that bordered on fury. "Spot me?" Riley asked, sliding onto the barbell with a grin that made Theo's palms sweat more than the iron. Theo nodded, hands hovering, close enough to catch the faint scent of eucalyptus soap under the gym's bleach tang. They fell into rhythm easy as a two-step at a honky-tonk. Study sessions in Riley's off-campus apartment turned into late-night confessions over lukewarm beers and microwave burritos. Riley talked about growing up queer in a Southie row house, dodging slurs from drunk uncles at Fenway games, finding solace in the harbor's salt spray. Theo listened, throat tight, until one rain-lashed night, with thunder rumbling like God's own disapproval, he cracked. "My old man's fixing me," he whispered, sleeve hiked up to show the faint track marks like faded tattoos on his inner elbow. Riley's fingers traced them gentle as a prayer, eyes darkening with a fury Theo had never seen aimed at anyone but himself. "That's not fixing, Theo. That's breaking." They kissed then, slow and searing, Riley's hands mapping the ridges of muscle Theo hated and loved in equal measure. It was Theo's first real kiss. Not stolen and panicked, but chosen, in a room that smelled of rain-soaked earth and possibility. Word got back to Amarillo faster than a grass fire. Harlan drove up in his F-150, tires screeching into the dorm lot like Judgment Day. Theo was mid-rep when the pounding started on his door, Riley's borrowed hoodie slung over the chair like evidence. "Open up, boy. I know what you're into." Harlan's bellow echoed down the hall, drawing stares from hungover freshmen nursing Red Bull IVs. Theo froze, barbell hovering, chest heaving. Riley, towel around his neck from the showers, stepped forward. "You got this," he murmured. But Theo's legs betrayed him, carrying him to the door on autopilot. Harlan burst in like a twister, face purpled with rage, clutching a crumpled printout. Screenshots from some Bible thumper blog, anonymous tips about the Harlan boys' perversions. "You think I raised you for this?" Harlan spat, jabbing a finger at Riley, who stood tall but silent, fists clenched at his sides. "All that work, the shots, the prayers, and you're still chasing tail like some back-alley queer?" Theo's world narrowed to the vein throbbing in his father's temple, the spittle flecking his lips. "Dad, it's not." "Shut your mouth," Harlan roared, lunging forward. Riley moved like lightning, shoving between them, his slight frame a wall of unyielding calm. "You touch him, you go through me first." The scuffle was brief but brutal. Harlan's haymaker glancing off Riley's shoulder, Theo's tackle pulling his father back before real damage. Security hauled Harlan out, bellowing scripture like curses, but the damage was done. By morning, Evelyn had called, voice quavering over the line. "Come home, baby. We can fix this. For the family." Theo didn't go home. Not then. He and Riley hunkered down, forging something fierce in the wreckage. A love stitched from stolen weekends at Palo Duro Canyon, where red rock spires clawed at the sky like Theo's unspoken pleas. Riley taught him to hike without a destination, to let the wind strip away the shame. They made love under star-pricked vaults, Theo's body a landscape Riley explored with reverence, whispering, "You're perfect like this. All of you." But Amarillo's pull was barbed wire around Theo's heart. Holidays were minefields. Thanksgiving with Harlan's interrogations masked as grace, Evelyn's silent tears over the turkey carcass. "He's changing, Theo," she'd murmur in the kitchen, hands flour-dusted from pie crusts. "Give it time. For me." Theo wanted to scream that the only change was in him, blooming like bluebonnets after rain. But he swallowed it down, muscles flexing under his skin like armor he couldn't shed. The serum tapered off after sophomore year. Harlan's supply dried up, or maybe guilt finally gnawed through his resolve. But the changes stuck. Theo's reflection mocked him. A man's body housing a boy's secrets. He bulked up more on his own, chasing the endorphin high, but each pump of iron echoed his father's voice. "Make a man out of you." Riley saw through it. "You're not your muscles, Tex," he teased, tugging Theo into bed with that Boston lilt that still made his knees weak. "You're the guy who recites Whitman under his breath while deadlifting." Theo laughed, but nights brought dreams of needles and bleachers, Jake's ghost fleeing into the dust. Summer after junior year, the fracture widened. Harlan announced a family retreat, some conversion camp in the hill country, disguised as a men's bonding weekend, with fly fishing and fire pit sermons. "No arguments," he barked over the phone. "Your mother's counting on it." Evelyn's voice in the background, frail as tissue. "Please, Theo, for us." Riley begged him not to go. "It's a trap, babe. They'll drown you in holy water and call it salvation." But Theo went, packing his duffel with Harlan's old fishing rod and a heart heavy as lead. The camp was a cluster of cabins ringed by live oaks, the air humming with cicadas and the low murmur of broken men seeking absolution. That's where the real poison seeped in. Not needles, but words. Group circles around crackling fires, where grizzled dads swapped war stories of rescuing their sons from the lifestyle. Harlan held court, voice booming. "My boy was lost, brothers. Skinny as a reed mooning over. Well, but I fought for him. Injected strength into his veins. Straight from the Lord's lab." Theo sat rigid, flames licking shadows across his face, as heads turned his way. Nods of approval, pats on the back that felt like shackles. One night, after too many sips of contraband bourbon, Harlan pulled him aside by the riverbank, water gurgling like suppressed sobs. See? They're proud of me, of what I did for you. His hand clamped Theo's shoulder, grip iron. You're a man now. Act like it. But the serum's ghost whispered otherwise. Theo's body, forged in that garage crucible, betrayed him in dreams. Muscles coiling around Riley's lithe form, tender and unyielding. He snuck calls from the camp payphone, Riley's voice a lifeline. Miss you, cowboy. Come back to me. He did. But the retreat's rot lingered. Back in Lubbock, Theo threw himself into finals, into Riley's arms, but doubt festered like an untreated wound. Harlan's pride twisted the knife, bragging at church potlucks about his strapping son, oblivious or willfully blind to the rainbow flag Theo had tucked in his sock drawer. Fall brought the storm. Riley proposed a road trip, California calling, with its beaches and acceptance, a chance to breathe free. Let's start over, just us, he said, eyes alight over diner pancakes in the tech union. Theo hesitated, the panhandle's gravity tugging. What about Mom? Dad's finally proud. Riley's fork stilled. Proud of a lie? Or proud of you? The question hung, sharp as barbed wire. They went anyway, piling into Riley's beat-up Subaru with a cooler of Shiner Bock and dreams packed tight. Highway 20 unspooled west, mesas giving way to deserts that shimmered like mirages of freedom. They stopped in Big Bend, hiking slots where slot canyons squeezed the world to whispers, making love in a tent to the howl of wind. Riley traced Theo's scars, the injection sites faded but etched in memory. These don't define you, he murmured, but they made you strong enough to leave. Theo believed him, almost, until the voicemail hit, crackling through spotty service outside El Paso. Evelyn, sobbing. Your father's had a stroke, baby. Come home. Now. The drive back was a blur of taillights and recriminations. Riley white-knuckled the wheel, jaw set. This is manipulation, Theo. Don't let them reel you in. But guilt was a stronger chain. At the hospital in Amarillo, Harlan lay pale against starched sheets, monitors beeping like accusatory metronomes. Evelyn clutched Theo's hand, her wedding ring cold as regret. He was so proud of you, talking about your muscles, how you'd carry on the farm. Harlan woke sputtering, eyes locking on Theo with feral intensity. You left with that boy. The words slurred, but the venom landed true. Filth. Riley waited in the hall, but Theo sent him away. Go back to school. I'll call. It was a lie they both tasted. The weeks blurred into caregiving purgatory. Theo shuttling between the ranch and rehab, muscles aching from chores his father once lorded over. Harlan's recovery was grudging, therapy sessions laced with barbs. If you'd manned up sooner, none of this. Evelyn played peacemaker, baking pecan pies that stuck in Theo's throat like sawdust. One night, rain lashing the tin roof like judgment, Harlan cornered him in the den. I did it for you, son. That serum cost me everything. My savings, my soul. To make you right. His hand trembled on the remote, CNN flickering images of pride parades in San Francisco. Look at them, deviants. I saved you from that. Theo's chest cracked open. You didn't save me, Dad. You remade me into your ghost. The words hung, thunderous. Harlan's face crumpled. Not in remorse, but rage. Then you're no son of mine. The betrayal landed like a sucker punch. Theo fled to the garage, the same workbench altar where it began. Vials long gone, but ghosts lingered in the dust. He called Riley at 3 a.m., voice breaking. I can't do this anymore. Come get me, Riley said, no hesitation. Dawn broke bloody over the plains as Theo loaded his truck. Duffel, Bible left unopened, and the flannel Riley once teased him about. Evelyn met him at the door, eyes red-rimmed. Don't go. He's sick. We need you. Theo pulled her into a hug, her bones fragile as bird wings. You need to see me, Mom. Not the man Dad built. She nodded, tears soaking his shirt, but let him go. The highway east swallowed him, Amarillo shrinking in the rearview like a bad dream. Riley waited at a roadside Whataburger, coffee steaming in paper cups. They drove in silence at first, then Riley's hand found Theo's knee. Where to, Tex? Theo exhaled, the weight lifting like dust in the wind. Anywhere but here. They aimed for Austin first, live music and murals, a city that pulsed with queer heartbeats. Theo enrolled in grad school for sustainable AG, trading his father's oil dreams for solar panels on co-ops. Riley landed a gig with a non-profit, mapping aquifers that quenched forgotten towns. Their apartment was a shoebox above a taqueria, walls papered in band posters and Polaroids. Them at Barton Springs, bodies tangled in turquoise water. Riley's head on Theo's chest, safe harbor. But scars don't fade clean. Nightmares woke Theo sweating, needles glinting in the dark. He'd bolt upright, Riley stirring with a sleepy, "Hey, I'm here." They talk it out over dawn yoga on the balcony. Theo's muscles, once a curse, now tools for building, not breaking. He volunteered at a youth center, sharing his story with kids wide-eyed and wavering, watching their shoulders straighten like his once had, but on their terms. Harlan's letters came sporadic. First accusatory scrawls, then Evelyn's pleas folded inside, her handwriting looping like olive branches. "He's softening," she wrote. "Asks about your studies." Theo replied once, a postcard from Zilker Park. "Learning to grow things that thrive, not just survive. Love you both." The high tide crashed a year in at Pride. Austin's streets throbbed with rainbows and bass lines, Theo and Riley shoulder to shoulder in the parade. Theo's tank top clinging to sweat-slicked pecs, Riley's arm looped possessive around his waist. A news van zeroed in, local affiliate hungry for feel-goods. "Tell us your story," the reporter cooed. Mike thrust forward. Theo froze, the old fear coiling. Riley squeezed his hand. "Your call, babe." He spoke, raw, unfiltered. The garage, the serum, a father's love warped into scalpels. "He wanted to fix me, but I wasn't broken." The clip went viral, #FixedByLove trending from Dallas to DC. Therapists citing it in sermons on toxic masculinity. Queer kids demanding Theo screenshots with "thank you." Harlan saw it. Called from the ranch, voice gravel over the line. "Saw you on the TV. Strutting like that." Pause, ragged breath. "I was wrong, son. About the shots. About you." Theo gripped the phone, Riley's forehead to his. "Then come see me, as I am." Evelyn arrived first, trained from Amarillo, clutching a quilt she'd pieced from Theo's baby clothes. They walked Lady Bird Lake, her arm in his, words tumbling like pebbles. "I knew, always, but I was scared." Theo forgave her, easy as exhaling. Harlan came months later, truck parked curbside like a white flag. He looked smaller, stooped by time and truth, but his handshake was firm when he met Riley. "Heard you're good for my boy." Over brisket at Franklin's, words halting. "I thought strength was this." He gestured at Theo's frame. "But it's not. It's letting go." Theo nodded, throat tight. "It is, Dad." They didn't hug, not yet. But as Harlan drove off, taillights fading into Austin's neon haze, Theo felt the last chain snap. He turned to Riley, pulling him close under street lamp glow. "We're free." Riley grinned, that Boston spark undimmed. "We always were, Texas. Just took you believing it." In the years that followed, Theo's body became his own, not a monument to paternal failure, but a vessel for the life he claimed. They married in a backyard ceremony, wildflowers and whiskey, Harlan officiating with a voice steadier than scripture. Evelyn danced with Riley, her laughter a melody long silenced. Theo wrote the book, Veins of Fire, A Son's Reckoning, pages spilling ink on grace and grit, the American dream requeered. It hit shelves with quiet thunder, readings in bookstores from Seattle to Savannah, where men like him stood taller, unapologetic. Some nights, under ceiling fans whirring like blessings, Theo traced Riley's freckles, muscles lax in repose. "You saved me," he'd murmur. Riley'd snort, curling closer. "Nah, you did the heavy lifting." And in the quiet, with the panhandle winds a distant memory, Theo knew it true. Strength wasn't injected. It was chosen, one defiant heartbeat at a time.